Namaste, Dhilip ji. Very good.
Namaste to everyone. Hari Om.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Om Guruji, namaste, namaste.
Suketu Desai, we are waiting for your prayer.
Hari Om Guruji, thank you so much. Gajananam bhut ganadisevitam kapitha jambufal sarabhakshitam Umasutam shoka vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwar Padapankajam Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Anandamanandakaram Prasannam Jnana Swarupam Nijbodhayuktam Yogin Ramiyam Bhavaroga Vaidhyam Srimad Gurum Nityamaham Namani. Om Guruve Namaha. Hari Om Guruji. Hari Om to all. Thank you.
Hari Om. So today, after a long time, we are having the Patreon session. And today the topic is the art of astrological consultation or counseling. It will be uploaded on patreon.com. It will also be uploaded on YouTube membership. So I'll give you the option to interact right from the beginning itself. But let's follow a format. Just raise your hand and before you want to say something, and wait for your turn. Speak. Obviously, you have to unmute and then speak. And once you're done, reverse the mic to mute. And that way we'll have a very decent discussion. Agreed? Or do you want me to mute everyone and then I give you the permission one by one? I can do that also. Whatever you want to say, you can type it out in the chat.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
That will be better, is it? Okay.
Better, yeah.
Okay. So most of you are my students, or you may have studied astrology elsewhere, but now we are all together in one place. And I know at least the majority of you have started consulting, because I get messages from the students who said that today I looked into a horoscope and these were the things I found out. What do you think about it? Am I going on the right track? What should I do to go to the next stage? All of these questions, keep coming to me by WhatsApp. So this session is dealing with this, the answer. Okay, how can we do a consultation? Now, why do we say it's an art of consultation? It's an art. It's not a science. Whereas astrology is a science. So there's a big difference between the two. It's like medicine and actually treating a patient is two different things. Maybe they have something in common, but they're not the same. Because we are dealing with human beings and we have to know what we should say and what we should not say. We need to consider the background of a person, in what stage the person is. Based upon his or her current condition, the reactions can be quite different. So you'll not get the same result from everyone. It won't be the same type. You don't have to take the same approach every time you do a consultation. It has to be almost like tailor-made for each person. Okay, after I give you some hints, then you can say something that you want to say about how we can do this. But before that, I'll just tell you a very short story. This is the story of a lot of frogs that fell into a dried up well. And so, it's quite like a tunnel type. And for some reason, all these frogs fell into it. Maybe there was a cloth on top of it, or we'll have to just guess. But there were also frogs outside the well. And the frogs inside tried hard to jump out. It kept trying again and again. They were jumping. The frogs outside, they kept saying, "You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. Okay? You're gone. There's nothing you can do about this. It's impossible for you to jump that high to come out of this well. So you're not going to make it." So that was what they were all screaming together. And soon, one by one, the frogs gave up. But one frog kept jumping. It never seemed to stop. And then suddenly, this particular frog made it. It jumped out of the well. So can you guess what was peculiar about this particular frog? All of you put down your hands, because sometimes when I ask a question, only for that you'll have to answer. Like I saw Krishna already has raised his hand. So I'll assume that it must have been for some other reason. And now again, everybody has hands are down. So if you have the answer, why? What was the special something that this frog had that allowed it to eventually jump out? It had something special, extra something. What was that? Can you guess? Just a wild guess. If you know the answer, raise your hand. I'll give you 10 seconds.
Hello.
Yes, well, Murugan.
Morning. Good evening, Guruji. The frog is deaf, Guruji.
The frog is a deaf frog. Very good answer. So what is this advantage?
It's not here that others' opinion. So it's
Negative.
going
The negative comments that you're not going to make it was not heard by this frog alone, but it influenced all other frogs because they were able to hear this. So it's very important that sometimes when you go to an astrologer and he tells something, there'll be situations when you will have to turn a deaf ear to it. There are some astrologers who say certain things in a certain way, and we should not be one among them. Be very careful about this, okay? This one, what I'm now going to tell you is taken from my real life experience. Long time back, this happened. This man had come for a consultation, and this was when Saturn was in Libra, okay, has entered Libra. So it has gone through Virgo, and then it entered Kanya Rashi, and then entered Tula Rashi. But this person's Rashi itself is Tula. So 2.5 years back, Sade Sati, or 7.5 years Saturn. South Indians know it as Eldrasani or Erasani, or whatever we call it, 7.5. They're the same thing anyway, just a name. In different languages, you say it in a different way. And So when, as we were going through the consultation, he mentioned that, of course, I had already told him that you're going through you completed 2.5 years of the 7.5 years phase. Then I gave him some suggestions how to manage, and also gave him some suggestions on dasha and antardasha, all of that. Then he also, he was aware of it. But he was jobless for 2.5 years. So he had been to an astrologer 2.5 years back, or before that itself, I think. So this astrologer gave him a 5-minute reading or something, because there are a lot of people waiting outside. And when you have a lot of people, what do you do? You can only give that much time for each person. Otherwise, the queue will be there. People get irritated. So I asked, what did the astrologer tell you? He said, soon Saturn is getting into Virgo. And that marks the beginning of 7.5 year Saturn for you. You being a Swati Nakshatra person. And that's the end of it. You're gone. It's all over for you. You lose your job. You'll come to the street. You won't have money. All of that. Now, by now, I think you must have understood that 7.5 year Saturn doesn't do that all the time, right? It's very rarely does that. And due to the effect of Sade Sati, the person did lose his job. But then these words were always, in his mind. And so he refused to apply for a job because he was convinced that nothing is going to work. He's going to be without a job for 7.5 years. And so he never applied for any job. He never worked. He started borrowing from his close friends. But when the friends were lost patience because he wasn't paying them back, he started borrowing from local people, what they call the goons, who do, lend money at very high rate of interest. And then he started borrowing to settle the first money lender, and the borrowing cycle went. The vicious cycle kept on going, and he had reached a point of he was planning to run away from Chennai, Madras. So that's when he came. He thought maybe if I say something else, he will continue here or he will make an exit. And then I had to, spend a lot of time convincing him that all this is not true. Of course, we have to say there is some truth in Sade Sati. It is a troubled time. A lot of anxiety is there, but it's not the way it is. So what were you doing 2.5 years? I asked him. He said, I was just watching TV. And I told him, does that not contradict 7.5 years Saturn? You were actually enjoying life. And of course, he was drinking and going out with his friends. As he kept borrowing, he spent the money on all these things. So I said, you were enjoying life. And that itself is a contradiction, because if you believe that the man said everything is gone, it contradicts that at least, right? I asked him. He said, yeah, I never thought about that. Then I had to, spend time trying to make him unlearn what he had learned. But it was very difficult for me. He said everything is prefixed, and it happened exactly like the astrologer said. The astrologer had told him. But I told him, no, you made it happen. This I usually call, or we all astrologers know this as self-fulfilling prophecy, SFP. Okay. And this is a threat in astrology, actually, that you can actually make events happen because you are an astrologer. You can tell people, and if they believe it, you can force it upon them. So there are so many things about this. We'll come back to this topic because this will be a basic, story. Because here we also found like what the astrologer should not have said. We'll have enough to discuss on these things now. And then I told him, just do any odd job. You can even clean the tables in a hotel or do something like that. No, I'm an engineer by profession. I studied engineering. So how can I do all that? I said, no. Sadasati does all these things. You got to accept. Even the Pandavas in the last 1 year of their exile had to do odd jobs. Something like that. I just gave him some examples about kings who were hit by Sadasati and so on. So we'll come back to this discussion because some of you can argue, no, whatever the astrologer said did happen also, right? And so then I told him, but it was, I think, somewhat too late because certain things had been done. And so he said, at least I cannot do all this work in this place in Chennai. I'll have to go outside of the state. So nobody's going to know who I am. At least there I can do all these odd jobs. My ego won't be hurt. So he did go out to another state. And he slogged it out. Okay. All that did happen also. But after Sadesati, Dasha also doesn't say static, it just changes and things, everything changes. So finally, he was able to come out of all this. So we have, this will be one of our main discussion points. I'm sure all of you will have something to say about this. You might have had experience with astrologers, or you may have said something like this to a client of yours, or maybe a friend of yours who consulted you. Okay. Dale Carnegie, in The Power of Positive Thinking, author, the book that made it as a bestseller. I'm reading out a portion from what he said. Positive way to offer criticism. Begin with a praise and honest appreciation. If you have a paper and pen, or maybe you have some option to type it out, keep this with you. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Make the fault easy to correct. Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. Dale Carnegie. This was one of my first motivational book that I read 30 years back. How do you correct a behavior in another that is unwanted in his life? Of course, there are many ways to do it, but how do you do it do it so that the other person gets the message and is willing to try your suggestion? Dale Carnegie knew the answer. Be gentle with people. Treat others the way you would like to be treated. Follow his advice, and you might be very surprised how the conversation starts and ends on a positive note. Now, using this is nothing to do with astrology, but this seems to be the way we'll have to handle the other person in our lives whenever we are across a table, we sit across a table. So if you just change it to positive way to do astrological consultation, begin with a praise and honest appreciation. First, dwell upon all the plus points in the horoscope. All the plus points. Oh, your Lagna Lord is so well placed. Your Lagna Lord is in Lagna. And it is Saturn. So you got a Sastra Yoga. You know what that is? Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga. Wow. You will stand apart from the crowd. You're not ordinary. Like that. And it's not a lie. Right? It's not flattery also. There is enough evidence to support this. Maharishi Parashar has mentioned it. So whatever has been mentioned about that, the positive things you take and appreciate that person. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. So we have blended this into our consultation. Then slowly you say, okay, in every horoscope there is a fault. I used to say, in my horoscope there are a lot of faults. Oh, then it is not that I am the only one. They'll come closer to you. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. I went through hell in my Rahu Dasha, Shani Antardasha. I've told this at least to maybe 5,000 people. Okay. So I didn't know about Rahu, Shani and all that. So I was just beginning to study astrology. And before that, I stepped into a business that I was not aware of. I didn't have any training, no experience, no prior experience. And then it took me by surprise. It was like a roller coaster ride. And then somehow I did all the remedies. You see, I've done my prayers, I did my charity and all that, and I somehow made it. Oh, is it? Then I can also solve my problems. Yeah, that's the way you have to do it. So talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. Do this, do that, go here, go there, and all that. Try to get close to that person, asking, what is that you want to know? I listen to you. Tell me what is going on. I know your dasha, antardasha is like this, or this combination is there. Once you tell me a little bit about yourself, then I can also go through the combinations here and tell you what the rishis have said, what Maharishi Parashara said, or what Sage Bhrigu said, or Maharishi Jaimini said, all that. And then slowly suggest a few simple ideas that should be actually effective also. It should really work. And it has been time tested. Then you say, Maharishi Parashara said this. And sometimes I say, even I have done this Mahamrityunjaya Homa just 2 years back. I donated a black cow. This is my third black cow that I donated. My daughter donated, or my son did this, or, all my friends, we all have done this. So you also do. So instead of straight away saying you are a sinner, what kind of horoscope you have, so many planets in 6, 8, and 12, you're gone. Don't make statements like that. But at the same time, do not hide facts. You have to be very careful. A very thin line separates these two. You have to be very careful and know the way the client is behaving and then adjust it accordingly. We are emotional. Human beings are emotional. Okay. When I attended the meeting conducted by His Holiness Dalai Lama in a Taj hotel at New Delhi, I sat through the entire 3-day session, and on the third day, somewhere before the break, he touched upon something that I had known a little bit about, and then he said, when invaders attacked his kingdom, all his family members were killed, and the news reached the Buddha. I didn't know about this, but I didn't know. I was just thinking maybe 30 years back when I was reading the Buddha, wherever I could buy this book or get this book. I was reading one book after the other, but somehow I never got this information, but Dalai Lama had it. So I was always inquisitive, like when Buddha heard that all his family members were killed, what would have been his reaction? He is an enlightened soul. Would he have bothered about their death? Then Dalai Lama says, you people think he was not affected by it? Do you think? The Buddha, not affected? You think? No, he's a human being. Very much human, human. And I was shocked to hear that. But then Buddha wasn't affected for a long time. He quickly bounced back to normal. And this is just to say that if the Buddha can be swayed by emotions, occasionally you see that Sri Krishna also was swayed by emotions in the Mahabharata. The avatars, the Vishnu avatars, are also swayed by emotions. So emotions is part of us. So you got to be very careful. If somebody is so sad when they come to you for a discussion, you got to keep that in mind. This is not the time when I should say certain things. You can always defer it for a later time. You can always push it to some other time. Maybe after 2 years, you come back. I'll tell you something more about your chart. Look for an opportune, an opportune time to tell these things. You can also look into the Dasha and Antardasha. Oh, you're getting a very good Dasha and Antardasha combination in 2023. And that's because these planets are in good place, well placed. Look at this Maharshi, this book. You can show the book if you want. It'll give them faith. See, what is the return? You're going to get everything that you were aspiring for. Okay. So just the beginning. I'm sure you'll have lots to tell. Now you can get ready for your way, your experience. What would you have done? If you have any motivational story to say, something very interesting that can keep can be an eye opener to us. See, if you look at it like you take anybody in this world, who is there who is not interested in his or her future? Is there some way to know it? Is there some way to know it? That's the question. Something, please. Or there'll be a lot of philosophy. There'll be always some spirituality. Something or the other is bound to happen. How much ever science is advancing at a pace that's very different when you compare with this century versus all other previous centuries. This is something like it is now it is gaining momentum, and science is all over the place, and yet we continue to be the same thing. You're looking at the stars, or we're reading a newspaper where something has been said about a Rashi or a sun sign or a moon sign. Some philosophical statement is there to motivate us. One day when I went to Tidal Park, this happened in 2006. A very important person there. Next to the computer, there was a short story. It was just like, just standing like this, neatly printed in almost like a placard. I think it was stuck to the notice board, or it was there, I think. And I read it. Very interesting story. The story is about, most of you by now would have read it. But for those who haven't, I'm just telling you this. So this is, I think it's titled Footprints. If you have heard of this, just raise your hand so that I know so many people did hear this before. So this is like a passage, and a person is walking on the beach. So you have the footprints. And I think it's something to do with timeline also. Maybe there is a timeline on the beach, like 2022, 2021, 20, going backwards. So the person's footprints are there. And then the traveler says, in my good times, I have, two legs, the prints of two legs extra coming along with me. So he asked the question, whose footprints are this? Then he was told it was God's. And when the bad times came, he only saw two footprints. In good times, there are four. So when the bad times came, he thought that God left him. And then God gives the answer. It was actually, I was carrying you. So what footprint you see is my footprint. Something like that. So you'll have to say, touch wood, if I am alive today and at least if I'm able to manage life. So you should always say, thank God. Every day you'll have to do the thank you. So far, so good. I managed it thus far. And always be grateful. So now we will try to gather some extra information from those who have joined this session. It can be now in two, we can have it in two types. One, you went to an astrologer and you got, you heard this from that person. It was motivating, demotivating, what he should have told and what he should not have told, like that. And the second, that wherever you consulted, I had these experiences. I actually found this in the chart but then I handled it this way. So others can also learn and become a better astrologer. Okay. Everyone is reluctant to raise your hands.
Yes, sir, I can tell you a situation of my friend. She had come to me for, sort of a consultation, and in her chart, basically, as you know, for Virgo ascendant, 11th Aquarius is in 6th house, so it's 6th lord also in a way. And there were certain other combinations, moon sitting with Shani and other things, and especially for that Antadasha and Mahadasha, which you had mentioned. And coincidentally, it was just after the day you released the video of 7 troubling Antadasha Dasha that she had come. And she was in almost, you can say, not suicidal, but near suicidal terms. So she was going through clinical depression, and I told her even I had gone through it. As once in my consultation, I remember all of you also pointed out Shani Ketu was one troubling dasha which I went through.
Mm-hmm.
So as you said, same ways, I told her that you have some beautiful yoga. She had 4 planets in her 9th house and 10th house, which according to one of the BV Raman's magazine I was reading is a yoga in itself. Multiple yoke, but she was depressed. No, my life is it's over. I'm not going to achieve anything in life, etc., etc. And the thing is, exactly like you just said, I just said that you have Rahu Venus, which would be starting for her in September. For now, for I think she's Rohini Nakshatra itself, would be starting for you. And from that moment, it will get better. You just observe. And she had few backlogs. The number of backlogs for her have reduced. She's in engineering college. And life has become better for her. She's almost at the end of Rahu Ketu. And the previous one was also Rahu Mercury, which is not an easy dasha to handle. So I told her this happens with everyone who goes through them. My sir himself told, it's a troubling dasha for everyone. And for her, few debilitations, for example, Mercury is debilitated in Navamsha. A few more indications here and there were there, which indicated, yes, problems are there for the Antardasha and the Shanath. So I told, yes, it's troubling. And that's what she was saying. I have headaches, I'm taking medicine. What is the way out of this? And I told her there is always way out. You do this, you pray to God on a daily basis. If you don't believe in God, just go do normal meditation. It's going to help. And it helped. And then later on, she called me recently and she said, yes, it has become much, much, much better. Also, I don't know whether, I don't think you can do this. One astrologer, I don't know why, suggested her to wear a pearl and a hesonite, which is Rahu's gem, and Ketu's gem together in one hand. I'm pretty sure that's not right. That is not right. I'm pretty sure, because they all three are enemies of, they three are inimical to each
They're
other.
opposite, or they're opposite to each other. Okay.
And she was wearing it in one finger. And few things she said, what the astrologer told her were not right. And later on, when whatever I said, because I always quote BPHS, so I just gave her quotation that, you should do this remedy like Mahamrityunjaya Japa and for donation of a black cow, whatever, not that, but some other thing for Rahu, Ketu, whatever was the remedy. So when I gave that, I was reading it from the website, which I had said Barbichan. So she said this was the same thing which was told to me by a 40-year-old experience. I'm saying that this book is followed by everyone same way. On a Google Meet, I showed her the same book, like you
Okay.
just said, right. This is the book. I'm not lying. You have this yoga, and she had one Jupiter and Venus together in 10th, and for Virgo or something like that, she had 2-3 yogs and then 3 planets in the 10th house and 4 planets in the this thing. Almost everything of hers is in 10th and 9th house. So I told you can read this chapter particular in Antidotes of Evil, that if Jupiter is in the Kendra and in Chalit
Okay.
also it forfeits 1,000 evil or something like that. So I told her this is all is written, so your kundi is not as bad as you think. People have got it much worse, and everyone has a rough patch in life. Nobody, I told, I am in an astrology group, my own guru, anyone, if you ask, everybody has gone through tough times. So it's
Okay.
life, we must go on. Like I remember you had told this in one of your videos, which I remember I noted down. This shall pass too. So I told her that exact word to her, that this shall pass too. Something that I learned from my guru.
Even this will pass away. Okay, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So,
It's very common, these things are in the Indian psychology.
yeah.
We have often heard this, nothing stays. It is,
Yeah.
so this is the nature of, I mean, this constant changing, and it's not fixed, that it is impermanent. It changes. These are what is connected to the word Maya. The world is not a Maya, but the events in the way that they happen and the way we react to it is Maya. But the event itself is not Maya. All the events are true. The earth, the sun, Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, all of them is true. You cannot dismiss them as Maya. But what is the Maya in this is that when money came, you thought that you are on the top of this world and you are invincible. Like you see in cartoons, suddenly the fellow will say, I'm the king of this world and things like that. And soon a hero will come and knock him off. So you have a different wrong opinion about certain things that is happening around you is within quotes the Maya. The rest is all true only. Okay. Otherwise, why should there be so much discussion about life in the first place? Why should there be so much of gurus, so many gurus and the Upanishads and the Vedas and all that, if this is all Maya? It is real. Karma is real. All the events are real. But what you'll have to say is, look at your timeline, your dashas and antardashas. You see, they don't stay. They're not the same thing every year, every month. And if you break it up and, if you use Jagannath Hora and show them, see how many subdivisions are there. Even today will not be the same tomorrow, even though you're still within the same antardasha, because so many things are happening, constantly changing. Okay, we have a picture like dasha, antardasha, pratyanta. So always tell them, okay, what else can we do? We have no other options. So you'll have to say sometimes, lie low, don't take risks, just let this pass. You will soon land up there. Until then, you somehow, hold on. So these words have a great effect on people. When you say, hold on, you are going to make it just a little longer and you will be able to do it. So many people have made it just because of the encouragement they received. And that is how, that's why even today you look at YouTube videos, the some of the, the videos that are attracted a lot of views were not all of them. They're usually motivational, lectures, a speech. Maybe Steve Jobs gave one, or Arnold Schwarzenegger did it once, or people are only looking at this. What is that they're telling, about how to be successful? Sylvester Stallone in Rocky IV tells his son, hey, you will be, like, for example, when you're talking about anything in this world, if you talk about Bhagavad Gita, it's something that happened how many years back? 5,000 years ago. Why should we even read about it? For what? It's only because we know the same situation comes again and again to every human being, one time or the other, as long as we exist, as long as human beings are. It will always be there. So it is not a message to Arjuna anyway. Though it was. It's a message to the whole world. Okay, it is not a dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. It is something to do with God's, the universal God, and us, the human beings. It's a message for us. So it will come. So you have to take everybody else's story. Why should we do postmortem analysis on horoscopes? Why are we doing all these case studies? It's just that it happened to them. So this is how you train yourself. And you also know by comparing other people, oh, he was in a very bad period. Look at him now, he's all right. So the same thing can happen to me also. It is not the end. Like this, you'll have to know enough stories to substantiate whatever you say. Some you can say from your own life. I have like that lots of stories because I have gone through, roughly I can say maybe 20,000 clients. So I have definitely lots of stories to say. Maybe
So-
you just started and you have to learn more, or you can borrow from others. You can actually read Dr. B.V. Raman's, what is that book's title? He wrote about himself. And an experiment with astrology. Yeah, I think my experiments with astrology. It's a very small book, but he writes about himself, about all his experiences. Okay.
Actually, sir, his daughter Gayatri Vasudev is still running his magazine, which continued after 2000. I think his death in 2006, mid 2000s, basically post his
Yeah.
death. So I wrote an email to her also. So I was reading one of her books. There she had mentioned the same, that he was always encouraging, etc., etc. Even though he himself has not written any books on remedies. And so has she. Sir, one last thing, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Sir, for a Virgo ascendant, again, moon being the 11th lord, should not be worn, right?
No, it is always simple idea. The gems of any functional malefic should never be worn. That's all. Flat rule.
Flat rule.
Only that too. See, for example, for Kanya Lagna, Maharshi himself is not very clear about Saturn's role because he's Lord of Fifth, Lord of Sixth, and he has not mentioned it as a benefic, whereas he says Mercury and Venus are benefics. So even to a Kanya Lagna person, don't suggest blue sapphire. Don't do it. So you go through that original text, volume 1, where he says they are benefics. The moment you see that Maharshi himself has accepted it is benefic, connect to the Rig Veda description of planets where Mercury is been picturized. The deity has been picturized in a particular way, and he's having a crown, and in that there is a large emerald. So they connected the emerald to Mercury like that. And then because all things of that planet has been suggested in connection with every remedy, we have to use our common sense and connect the gems, connect any other thing that you may use. So when people ask you, what is my lucky number? Don't go through numerology. Always say, let's slightly modify it. And we'll try to connect the planets and the numbers, and then try to do it that way. Which are the lucky days of my life? So simple it is. Benefic. If for a Makar Lagna person, you can be bold enough to say that whenever an auspicious day, within quotes, that it should be first auspicious. Now there will be several auspicious days in a year. Mark out the Fridays and keep it as a special day for you in your life. If you have something very big that you have to do, something that is luck based, that day is going to change your life. You're going to meet somebody important. You need more luck. And those who are in sports and games can easily feel every day the luck level is different. On a particular day, let's say in my recent, I've been playing this game snooker. Sometimes whatever I hit, everything, they make the ball, what they say, pot the ball. It's just going straight. And then people say, oh, wow, you're playing like a champion. And the next day I'm playing like a fool. Then I find out, oh, today is Janma Nakshatra. Oh, that's why it is doing this. So it's very important that you stick to the fundamentals. That lucky days are based upon benefic days. The most unlucky days are based upon in this, there is an order. how to select the order. The most malefic, the Maharshi always writes first. Right? For Mesha Lagna, he writes Saturn is the most malefic. If he wears black dress, it's over. If a Simha Lagna person wears blue dress or brown dress, it is definitely going to bring him down. So that's because you are siding with the wrong, the planets that is actually the problem in your chart. And what do you mean by problem? Problem means something coming from as a sin in your past life. Otherwise, why should Maharshi Parashara say give away a black cow for Saturn and a white cow for Venus? Because he's trying to connect the colors and something else to these things wherever possible. Right? For moon, he says curd because it is milk product, because moon is milk. So you can modify it once you know this. But only those who don't know these logics, there are many, I'll tell you the truth, there are many astrologers who don't know the functional benefic and malefic for Lagnas. I've met many like that. They say, oh, is it? Did Maharshi say that? Yeah. Oh, it's very nice, interesting. Can you say something more about it? Like that, they'll ask me. So I met astrologers who don't know what is the Lagna. Can you believe this? They don't know what you actually mean by Lagna. What is it? Why is the sixth house so bad? So what you do is you stick to the functional benefic malefic, and for all the Chara Lagnas, even for Makar Lagna, the most malefic is Mars. Why? 11th Lord. If he wears red coral, it's over. I experimented with these things and then finally came to the conclusion it works like anything. It's 100% sure. And I'll tell you one more thing. If I recommend a gem or any procedure, you do this, do that, the client will come back after 5 years and say, I've not done anything. Meanwhile, the person will go through trouble. So there is something else in life also. Like some people can argue, no, it is not in this person's fate. I met a person who's my regular client. Every time, same question asked. Do you think I should wear that emerald? Emerald is in -34 in Shadbala. It's a very important graha. And the problem that she's telling is only based upon that planet. And I keep showing the books. I do this, do that. Then she looks and, oh, emerald is that important. She's asked this question for the 10th time and never wears it. Not that she cannot buy. She can buy one kilo of emerald. She's that rich. It's not about money. You understand? Same thing. You want to do some parihara, some prayashit, some remedies. Again, they do the same thing. But there are others, and sometimes I'm surprised. People belong to another faith. They will do it immediately.
Yes, sir.
They will do it immediately. No questions asked. So we have lots of problems here. But it is our duty to tell everybody, at least let's standardize astrology. Good planets, bad planets. That's the basis for everything. If the good planet went to the bad house, rush with a gem recommendation, color therapy, boosting of the planet's energy somehow, because that is the only thing that has to help the person. And that itself has gone down. People say, if I wear a gem connected to that, will it not make it worse?
Yeah,
How will it make it worse? It will never make it worse. What are you supposed to do with it? So all that which gives problem, we have to donate. What does that mean? I should not be wearing it. Okay.
But sir, most people say if suppose a planet is combust, you should not wear his gem. It will not make an effect. Like every astrologer, they don't know I know astrology. So I just test it out with most astrologers here. And every time they say that, don't recommend it, will not do any benefit.
No. That is, if it is weak, if it is afflicted, and if it is your friend, you have to help that planet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's all. Okay.
And
now we'll give... one minute, Shivanshu. We had in many sessions the complaint that only one student kept talking throughout the session. We never got a chance, so I'll have to go to the other people. So we'll start with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wanted to thank you.
Thank you, and now Krishna.
Thank you, Guruji. It's been a while. So first of all, maybe in reverse order, and some of it I was also patiently waiting to talk. So you mentioned about the gems. Obviously, we also talked about, from my own experience also, Tula Lagna, Blue Sapphire, Emerald, supposedly good gems, but always some tension when you start wearing it. And we've also discussed in earlier classes how it's they will try to hinder initially. Maybe the question is, should I just get my teeth? Because the maximum I've worn that is about a month, and at some point you think that will it become worse or better, and so you decide. I've decided to remove it, let it go. So I mean, that's the first thing.
If it's a gem of your benefic planet, and then if you remove it, it is a hint that there are certain bad things that has to happen. Therefore, it will become a contradiction if you're wearing it, and therefore, to match it up, it will make you remove it.
So should I overcome that hesitation and try to?
Yeah.
Should we?
It is the same with everything. Even if you sit for meditation, we can't do meditation because something else comes in your mind. You're not able to chant the mantra. You're not able to believe in God. You have all these obstructions coming quite naturally. And in all of that, it is persistence. No, I have faith. I will stick to it. Once a person who was having this diarrhea goes to the great Shirdi Sai Baba, and he says, don't worry, just sit beside me. And he kept on giving him groundnuts. Okay. And then he gave him a lot of water to drink. And he said it will stop. Actually, it is meant to make it double. Right? The diarrhea will be unmanageable after that. But to that man, it stopped. It's a question about faith, actually. So we have certain things like this, but in any case, this is very complex. But our topic was not this. Our topic was in the terms of how we should, because many of the students here in this batch, they are almost astrologers. So they have started consulting. So it is actually meant for that topic. So we'll give the chance to others. It is about experiences on how to handle a consultation, the art of astrological consultation. If something you saw in the chart, how do you approach it? You saw a disease that is about to come in this person's life, and you want to tell it or not that you are prone to a serious kidney problem or something. That was the question. Okay.
Got it.
We'll come back. Yeah.
I have some questions on that also. I just didn't ask that first because the last thing that we talked about was gems. So
no, it is not questions. It is not questions. It is about your opinion about these things. It is just something to discuss the opinion so that others can get some hints on how we can make it better. A consultation can be made better. Okay.
Got it. So for that, there's one mention also. I know I'm not a professional astrologer, but power of positivity that you already talked about. Give hope, and even if the pariharam in your mind that you think it may not help, they need to have true conviction that it will work. So maybe the positivity is what is going to make a difference. I think from from family or friends that I talk with. The one thing, though, with any consultation, maybe it's just my own personal experience in the last 2-3 months. I've been a bit confused on whether the astrologer first has to adjust the time of birth in some ways, because I think it was a chance conversation that I had with another like an older astrologer. He's 75, 80 years old, that in my community that I met. And I had given my time of birth. And he had said, based on what you say, it's actually at that time only a girl, or you're not a girl. So some trial and error. He said it's not 2:15, but it should be around 2:11 p.m. So it's only 4 minutes that he said is probably the right time, and that actually changed the Bhava chart with Rahu Ketu from 2.8 to 3.9 axis. So my question is, just from do astrologers, you have the data, and you've also talked about people that get the lagna wrong with everything wrong. But in the interest of doing the right thing for the people, I think is it incumbent on the astrologer first to look at whether the data itself is correct till what has happened right now. I know you do it, but I'm not sure whether it is done by everyone.
Okay, so we will take it as that every astrologer should check the sensitivity of with regard to time versus the planetary positions. So we have a wide range of possibilities here, that not all the time this has to be given so much importance, because usually if it is like you said, if a planet is changing its position in the Bhava chart by a few minutes alteration, then you should definitely keep the best way is to keep both the charts side by side, and then check for what has happened already and try to connect it to an event, check the dasha and antardasha and see what matches that particular time. Okay, so you can check Navamsha Lagna. For example, recently we had a consultation where there was a doubt. Then when I asked the date of marriage, and the marriage was done in the dasha and antardasha of two planets, in Navamsha Lagna, I said at least to the level of Navamsha Lagna, your time of birth is correct. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got married at that time. So like this, you can quickly zoom in. But if you go for a perfect time of birth, it will be a never-ending process, because you have so many other divisional charts, and it will be sometimes impractical also. And then you'll be delaying the predictions. So you'll have to take it, with a depending upon case to case, it will change. It is not that you need it. Sometimes the Lagna is right in the middle of the sign. I'll just tell them, don't bother about time of birth, because we anyway will get most of it correct. And that's all we have to wish for in astrology. We shouldn't try to make it so perfect. And even the rishis have said this is still a science of tendencies only. So why should we try to make it perfect and all of that? So we will be missing the main message in the horoscope. So dasha antardasha, he doesn't say if it is so many percent into the 11th house only, this is the this is the result. Straight away, if it is anywhere in the 11th house, he says the same result. Of course, he has also mentioned that if it is on the border of two ascendants, there will be some problem. So, but if every astrologer starts this, no, I don't believe your time of birth is right. Already we are working in a gray area, and then you say, oh, that's the reason why this prediction was not covered, or this is why it happened. So every time you go to another astrologer, even if they do birth time rectification, it will never be the same time. Sometimes astrologers use it as a justification, that they made a wrong reading, and they'll always tell it's because you gave the wrong time of birth. And then it'll become like you go to an astrologer and say, what do you think is and he will say his opinion. So we will be missing a lot of things. So I always tell people not to start this unnecessarily. But if it is a sensitive horoscope, 1 minute change, the Lagna will change. The lords of 12 houses will change. Completely everything will change. Your gems will change. Your lucky paintings will change. Your lucky numbers, your lucky days, your everything will change as soon as the Lagna changes. So at least for Lagna changes, you'll have to really break your head. And so I have in my office, instructions that if it is on 0 degree, please call me and then proceed with, I'll tell you how to proceed. Don't do it by yourself. Then they prepare 2 charts actually. And during the consultation, I'll keep an eye on both and eventually find out which is correct. Okay. For the rest, small things, you can do it in your mind itself. If you want to, sometimes I won't even tell the client that you need to adjust the time of birth, because it's unnecessarily, oh my God, I'm in the wrong horoscope, is it? So that the whole thing is wrong. Like that, they will think. They do not know the complex nature of astrology. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah,
we
so
will keep.
similarly, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Krishna, we'll have to, we will come back. If nobody is there to talk, you can always, you'll be invited to speak. Okay. So we'll say Sai Prahlad is so much into astrology nowadays. So we'll ask him about how to make it better.
Hello, Guruji. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of topics. First one is like I have this experience. I'm very into Prashna these days, and Prashna is like amazing. So I had this question, and I wanted to know whether I was going in the right path or not, because it was an interesting opportunity. So why my friend is very good at Prashna, and I think we should bring him in and do a session with you, Guruji. But he can only speak in Tamil. He's not fluent in English.
That's okay. We can have a translator. Maybe we can take turns and translate. And And maybe if there is some examples, then we can actually use my iPad and show the same thing, and I can keep explaining it in English.
Yeah. So I was asking him, like, am I in the right path? And I said, I had this opportunity from a friend, and is this correct? And then immediately, whatever I had in mind, everything the Prashna was saying, like what my friend was intending to do, what was his plan, the Prashna was saying, and I was amazed. And I decided to go with the plan. And so there I realized that, this Jyotisha Shastra is very powerful. It gives you such clarity. Nobody will say whether that you're going somewhere is right or wrong. It's very hard, like when you make some big decisions. But whereas Prashna can say, and I had another experience where I was doing with this thing. Every time the Prashna said, the other party needed more money. 4 times we did Prashna in the different months. And every time the Prashna said only one thing: the other party is looking for or seeking for more money. And in the end, I had to cut off that thing. But here I realized one more thing. See, the thing is, had I not went through the delay of those months, then I would not have the opportunity I have now. So though I knew the Prashna, but God or karma wanted me to go through that delay. He didn't want me to change, because had I changed it, or maybe even if he didn't, if he was not cheating me and if he has done it faster, then I would not get the opportunity that I got now. Okay. So we have to also understand. Sometimes, some things, especially if people have like Viparita Raj Yoga or something, so certain negative things will happen that will eventually turn positive. So as astrologers, we should also have in mind, and every negative is a chance for a positive breakthrough. And all the Upanishads and all the if we take Sri Krishna, for example, he gives the lecture on a battlefield where everything is bloody, everybody is on high emotions. They can't think straight. And here in that field, he's saying you can do battle, and you can be like a sadhu, like you can perform without being attached. So, there are different faiths, but most in, Buddhist faiths, and some of them will be like, you have to leave everything. Even in some of our Indian traditions, we say complete sannyasa, but that is not always the case. In most of the text, the gods, even in Katha Upanishad, which I'm going through now, he's not necessarily saying you have to let go of everything. Like in Katha Upanishads, Yama talks with Nachiketa on similar context, and it's all more mind based. It's about not being attached, at the same time doing your duties. So I think that is something maybe we should teach to some of our clients, because they get very attached to certain things. But overall, it's not always easy to change karma. As you said, you are suggesting some person to wear emerald because their Buddhan might be affected, but they never wore. So similarly, I know people who should do some things and who should not do it. And regardless how many times you give it, the karma will just reject them. And a recent example is my cousin's going to get married. So indirectly, I know what was going to happen. I mean, I kind of know what might happen. And but all the indicators, and I asked many people, everybody is saying that it's a bad time to get married. But they are going with it. Okay, and any indirect indication we give them, soft approach, they are not willing to listen. They are willing to just go with their action. So changing one's karma is again a very hard thing. So I guess, like Guruji, you said, we try to find out, like I think even Shivanshu said, if some person is going through a bad dasha, then we say, till this you have to go through that suffering, go through the pain. And maybe we should also counsel them that sometimes these pains and sufferings will make them better. Or maybe it might give them new opportunities. Like you have to make the pain your message. So I'll finish with this. One of my mentors, his father was a drunkard. And then eventually his father became sober. He never drank again. Okay. Where he got sober was actually from other drunkard people. Some of the other drunkard people persuaded him and said, no, you should not drink anymore. And So here, what gave the other drunkards the authority to ask this guy to not be a drunkard? They didn't have any authority. They were also in lower points in their lives. They were also poor. They were also miserable. But their misery, in a sense, helped somebody else to change to change their life. So so one can make their mess into a message. Like I told this lady in one consultation, she had every negative point for marriage, like the seventh lord and the sixth, Venus being bad, Jupiter being bad,
Okay,
12th
all the
house getting
combination.
inflicted. Everything was there.
Hmm.
And I told her, all this is there, so it's very difficult for you to get married again. But I didn't say you should not get married. I said you should try. At the same time, I asked her to focus on making her mess into a message, because she also knew a little bit of Jyotisha. I said, all this is pointing bad. Why not you make this mess into a message so that you can help others get married, and eventually that karma might help you to get married. And I also told this, one of your friends, I don't know his name, but he's in wheelchair. He's also the Wheelchair Association. So I showed him, look, this person is he's in wheelchair, but then he's running an organization for disabled people. So he has made his mess into his message, and now he's helping so many more. So I think that's what, if people could do that, and if they could, see that change, maybe a lot of good things can come out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, Guruji. So that's all for now. We'll catch up again.
See, there are two things about when we talk about was it fated to happen? It's so difficult to find out what is fated and what is not fated. There are fresh. There's a scope always for fresh things to come up. You're creating new karma even right now, so that it means that your Ichha Shakti is being used, your free will is being used. So what is the unchangeable part of you is actually only the past, because it's already done. Okay, you have to keep an open mind on this, because otherwise it will become like that joke I used to always quote. One client came and told me, I've repeated this so many times, but to the point that it might be boring also to listen to this over and over again. But I can't help repeating it. Remember the man, when I told him, Maharishi Parashara says you must do Mahamrityunjaya and also give a black cow in charity. I showed him the book, though he was not able to read it. But then he said, okay, I don't know how to read it, but can you look further and tell me whether I will do it or not? I think most of you must have heard the story from me. So I kept telling him, no, he's asking you to do it. Maharishi is asking you to do it. He said, I know, sir, he's asking me to do it, but whether I will do it or not, in Tamil, na seivana seiya matana. Does he say that? See, what is he doing? So we'll have to be very sure we don't fall into the same trap. So when this lady refuses to wear the emerald, I will not take it as it is fated. Okay. I know, of course, the dasha is bad and it is not matching up with that. But even at that time, if you wear the gem, it will get better. It's only a matter of free will, not exercising free will that we have. Remember Sri Yukteswar, who said a child is born on that day. I used to show it. Maybe I can show it to you once again. So make sure you never make this mistake that maybe it is fate that the person is not doing the remedy. You got to tell them you must do it for your improvement. You cannot, you cannot stretch things too far and say, even to do a remedy or not do a remedy, it is part of your fate. You will have to say, if you don't do it, then fate really works, whatever is there, whatever the statement is there. But if you do it, it won't happen. I mean, that is the promise of Maharishi Parashara himself. It is not my idea anyway. Do you get this? He says, if you do this, you will find relief, he says. Shiva Sahasranama, 7th Lord Jupiter. To find relief, he says, Bada Bhavishyati, like something like that. So you will be in physical, your physical health will go down. And then what does he say after that? You do this, it will get better. What does it mean? We always have this free will with us. If everything is prefixed, this is something that has been debated for countless number of times. If everything is prefixed, then why should we even look into the horoscope. There's no need because everything is prefixed. It'll happen automatically. Okay, so I'm reading out from this. Sri Yukteswar the Yogi, Guru of Paramamsa Yogananda. A child is born on that day and at that hour when the celestial rays are in mathematical harmony with his individual karma. His horoscope is a challenging portrait, revealing his unalterable past. Okay, what is unalterable is not the future. And because of the past, he says, it's probable future results. At this rate, it will become this. It is going towards this. Do you want to stop it? Or do you want to alter it? Or you don't want to alter it? That's your choice. But the event is most likely to happen because of the past. Okay? I want everyone here, even though we have only few people here, we just have 46. But this 46 people, I mean, I think it includes me also, I think. So the 45 people, you must carry this message to the world. You should say that I am going to change people's life. I'm going to convince them that I'll even quote, you can say like that. I'll quote my, in my class, we were taught by our master. He even joked about a client who was so stupid to ask whether I will do it or not, does he say? So let's never go back to that level of that man who never went to school. Okay, so it is like, this is the reason why they said astrology is a science of tendencies. But why is it so accurate? It is because there is a past. And because of the past, it is capable of giving a result, at least to that extent. So you must have gone through my video, Karma and Astrology Part 1, in which I spoke about my Hindi. How much ever I study, I will never get that high marks. That is because I've damaged it in the past. There is something like that in all of us. If you start to play chess today, first time in your life, and if you try to beat me, you will never able to do it at all for the rest of your life, mostly. But who knows, in 5 days you can beat me. Never know. Now I'm defeating people who have been playing 20 years snooker. I'm defeating them, even though I played hardly, if you count the number of days, just 1 year. It's got nothing to do with all this, but there is a setback that you will be one step behind because already you missed so many days. So the past is there, but yet, that means the past is unalterable. Only that is unalterable. Don't ever tell a single client the future is unalterable. Even if, I mean, this is only a projection system. Okay, whatever is there in the horoscope, if it happens, you say, yes, what to do, it is already mentioned. It was always trying to happen and finally it happened. You can always tell that statement, but you cannot say, no, there's nothing you can do about it. You simply lie down and go through it. It's not like that. Okay. So never forget this logic in astrology. At least you can remember this man. I will never forget this case because I repeated 5 times. He's asking you to do it. And then he said, yes, I know. But will I do it or not? Does he say this? Have you heard of a greater joke than this in the world of astrology? Right? So never forget this. Then there are certain things like you can always bring in, prayers are so powerful. Faith. And prayers buy time. Think about God. God is there with me. He will take care of it. He will not let me down. Even if he lets you down, also no issues, but you got to believe that he is there. He will never let me down. Eventually, I'll make it. I'll make it. Like that frog. Never listen to anybody who says you will not make it. Okay. So in consultation, we are different than what we do in a class in terms of the science portion of astrology. In science, when we talk about the science thing, like when Krishna was talking, then we talk only astrology. And there we have clear-cut rules. But when it comes to speaking to a person, no, it's quite different. You got to be very, compassionate, kind, and so on. Already the person is going through trouble. Okay? At that time, how is his mindset? People, when in trouble, they'll become so unscientific, so illogical. They can't say anything. Emotional, anger, they can't see what they're doing. So you got to wait for time. Wait. We'll come back to this. You come after 3 months. Those days, this idea was used by every astrologer. When it was so bad, they'll always say, okay, no problem, just do this puja, do these prayers. Now it is not a good time. We will look at it after 3 months. If you can't, tell it in a nice way, encouraging way, you are used to saying only point blank. Usually, if any one of you is a Dhanu Lagna person, and if you are trying to get into astrology, you will be so frank. You will say, no, I want to tell it exactly like how it has been mentioned. Of course, all of us should be like that. But what to tell and what not to tell also should be kept in mind. Okay. Kishore, we had one chess coach, Paralad, he finished now another chess coach. Kishore.
Gurubhyo Namah Guruji.
Hari Om.
Two questions. One is regarding the analysis part. Why is it that most of the astrologers that I have been meeting are only looking at the negative points first in the chart rather than looking at the blessings? That is one question. And the second question is, how should we proceed? If there is a 50-50 quality in the chart, and does it make sense to actually speak more about that 50 positive rather than the 50 negative? Even if there's 60 positive and 40 negative, should we be harping more on the positives based on what you said earlier about Dale Carnegie's book, based on that? The positive part of it, will it be giving direction to the native so that he can go ahead in a positive way, he can achieve positive results? So one question is about why current astrologers, the ones that I've met, most of them are only looking at the negatives first. And then when I tell them, what about the guru's aspect? What about the benefic aspect? And they say, yeah, that is there. Okay. But then this negative is really going to show them something. So how do we take it? Like, is it a good way to approach only the negatives first and then go to the positives, or should we go the other way around?
It's always good to start with the negative and end with the positive, because when the consultation is over, they will have more memory of the good things that we said. Okay. Why we have to cover the negative is an astrological counseling is actually truly the main purpose of it is to change one's karma. That's the actual truth. By making them aware. So the astrologer will develop as a guru there. He's got to tell what is the fault. And if you don't tell the fault, and if you only say good things, at that particular point in time, the person will be really motivated, but there will be something lingering in his mind. Then why are all these bad things happening to me? Then he will even suspect whether astrology itself is a science. So we have these problems also. But it all depends on so many facts. Suppose the horoscope is extremely bad, then I will always change the order to first tell the good things. You understand? So it has to be case to case. Suppose if it is 50-50, I'll always start with the negatives and end with the positive. The bad things should be placed first, and then it should be ending with good things. I think that's how every movie is made or every story is made. They're always, the last scenes will be group photo, right? Family photo. Even the police will also arrive on time at the end of the story, end of the movie. Till that time, everything is bad. After that, everything becomes good. So, see, we don't have a definite answer to this, but if it is 50-50, start with negative and finish it with positive. If it is very bad all over the place, that time you say, you even question the fundamental nature of astrology itself and say, you can actually go beyond all this. There's something else for us as human beings. We can get into meditation. We can get into another way of looking at life. You can seek out a guru and then his blessings, prayer. Like that, you'll have to change it according to that person. It should not be the same method. Because as I told you, we are not we can't do it like a computer or a machine. We have to wait and see what are we talking about. When some people come to me for consultation, okay, now wait a minute. Suppose you don't like this approach of saying negative things. Is not the person going through negative things? What do you think about that? Are all these negative statements and negative things in this world because of astrology and astrologers? How many of you feel all of this is only due to astrology and astrologers?
That was a question regarding analysis, Guruji, not client prediction. It was only about analysis, because I'm doing analysis, I link up with 2-3 friends of mine.
Okay.
And that is the reason why I now do solo. I'm not doing group analysis. So most of the time they keep looking only at the negatives. And I wonder why, is it the human nature to go into the fear factor first? Why is everybody, is a budding astrologer always going through this? According to your experience, is it a right approach or a wrong approach? While analyzing a chart, I'm talking about analysis.
If you don't want to have any bias on this, any standard approach on this, the best way, meanwhile, others can contribute your points in the chat, because we'll be uploading the chat as well. See, the best way, I was taught this method in Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's ashram at Netherlands when I worked there in 1994, Holland. What is the method was, you don't choose which one should be told first. Instead, they gave us a training like, see this, very nice idea. So you don't have to get into this confusion. First house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house. Go through 12 houses. Then again go through planets in different houses. Read out all the result. And now you have both, plus minus, all things being told. And then based upon the questions, and you just continue from there. That's all. So in this case, you got, but the problem is still there, because if all the lords of houses are all badly placed, and Maharishi Parashara said many bad things, challenging. If you want to remove the word, replace the word bad with challenges, because most people in the Western side of what we call as West or Oriental, the difference is, some people don't like to say bad. They always say challenging and things like that, because it's actually challenging only. It's just a challenge. It all depends on how you put up with the challenge. Each one will put up with the challenge in a different way. So why should you even say bad? Even sin or all these terms can be avoided, best avoided. So if you go through this method, typical way, like I sometimes, I start with the strength of your horoscope, overall strength. Wow, it is standing at 8.5 out of 10. And that's a nice way to start. Then to make it more pleasant, you can say your lucky colors, your gems, and slowly get into the negatives if you want. It all depends on the client's reaction only. Suppose, or you can use the method that I was taught in Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's ashram. Simply don't have any particular method. Go through one by one. First house, second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house. And then if you have any questions to ask now, before you go to the next house, you can ask. So you say something about the fourth house, bad planets, fourth lord badly placed. What is the fourth house supposed to connect to? The first house deals with this, you have to say. Then you should say the lord of this house, and then connect it, then Maharishi statement, then your own conclusions, everything, then go to the second house. That way, there won't be any problem. But in a professional consultation, they came with problems only. It is not that I'm creating problems for anyone. I'm not creating any negative things. In fact, I'm on the other side. I'll tell them, don't take anything negatively. They'll say, I've read your article. Ketu, oh my God, it has been nightmare. I don't know what to do now. That's why I came for a consultation. It's already bad. The client knows it. And so what's the point of saying, no, nothing's going to happen. So don't make it look like that. And he will say, what are you saying? I'm going through hell, you will say. I mean, he himself is in that plane. You've got to be there and then solve it. If you're a doctor and if you notice your patient is in maybe third stage cancer or something, you cannot tell them, who told you got cancer? Everything is all right. You're having a fantastic health. Will you say that? You cannot say. There is some amount to that. That's why, of course, this is a very tough subject where sometimes you feel so bad reading a chart. There are times that I couldn't sleep in the night because I gave a reading. And sometimes it will stretch for 3-4 days. I'm telling you honestly, I won't be able to sleep. I'll be awake till 3 o'clock and think, oh my God, what should this soul do? How can it change? So many things have happened. It's so difficult. Okay. So
Thank you, Guruji.
yeah. And since in a direct consultation, the first question is, my marriage is ending in divorce. It's a negative statement. How can I start with a positive statement? No, you're going to have a happy marriage. So most of the time in a professional consultation, especially when the fees is as high as how I charge, it will be always negative way only. It will only start on a negative note. If anybody is doing well, they wouldn't come to me and consult paying such sums of money, right?
Okay, Guruji. So for learning purpose, we can start with the method that you
Yeah,
had
if you
described.
are like hobbying and all that, you just want to use it. Maybe you have another source of income. Your livelihood is not this. And then you're free to do it the way you want. Then you use that, what I learned, 1, 2, 3, 4, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, like that, the 9 planets in that order. And then quickly move on to what is the current dasha. Here, this has been said. Something positive is there, something negatives are there, and how to make sure that these things don't work. So a lot of fantastic information is available, but at the time when you tell the person, they will feel very bad. No. If I say something that they don't want to hear, they will definitely say, sir, can you look more deeper into the horoscope? Whenever they say that, I know what they mean. They say, what they actually mean is, can you change your opinion? Can you say something else? Can you change your opinion is actually the meaning of, can you look deeper? Okay, so anyway, we have a lot of information coming now today. Anybody else wants to contribute? Or Kishore, are you happy? You want to say something more?
Yes, Guruji. When are we doing the chart analysis? Or is there anything coming up? Because I have some charts later on. I mean, not today. I'm talking about.
Yeah, we'll do it. Now onwards, this session will become standardized every time, and then we are planning to have some ad hoc, maybe any other based upon your students' request. Even 10 people, but anyway, it will get uploaded. So it will be recorded and uploaded. So all the patrons will be able to see it. All those in YouTube membership will also be able to see it. Okay.
Okay, Guruji.
See, coming to the positive, negative things. First of all, the positive, negative things are happening because of past life only. Okay, all the positive, negatives. And it's not actually caused by at least only astrology. Okay, it is caused by so many things. Or it will seemingly be caused by so many other things. It will match up. So in bad times, your doctor will mess it up. Your own doctor will mess it up. Your lawyer will actually join hands with the opposite lawyer and they'll make money out of it. So many things will go wrong. You're driving on the road, you're so careful, you followed all the rules. Suddenly, a vehicle that is out of control comes and hits from the opposite. You can see it now, plenty of them on YouTube. And in so many other places you can see. be shocked to see certain things. Now, there is already enough of all this in this world. It's not that astrology is causing this or only astrologers are causing it. This kind of, negative statements or anything. In that way, if you look at Maharishi Parashara's text itself, some of them are negative. Do you think that if this was not to be told, the Maharishi would have even mentioned it? What do you think about that? Suppose you are Maharishi, just act like that. I'll ask you a question. Why have you put so much of negative things in the book? Anybody wants to try answering that? You can put on your hands and then start afresh for this question. All of you can put on your hand. Yes. And then if you have an answer for this, if you want to say, I'm only Maharishi Parashara, and I'm going to tell you why I put all those negative statements. Anil, you'll have to say, I am Maharishi Parashara. Just act it like that, okay?
Hi, Guruji. My name is Anita. I just...
okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. Just a name, right? Yeah.
True, yeah. So for me, I look at my horoscope as a progress report or a school report. And I say, okay, this is where I'm doing good and this is where I have to improve myself. And that's how... I cannot question my teacher saying that, why did you write my marks in the report when I got very less marks, kind of.
Okay.
So I take it in that way. I might be wrong, but at least that has helped me take my life in a better picture or better point of view.
Okay. Good.
Thank you. Okay.
So you're just using it to measure what is possible and where you stand, what should be done now to make it better and so on, right? You use it like
where can I improve?
like a mark sheet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of putting it, because actually astrology's main purpose is that only. Like you want to know what, and so we are only trying to guess what might have happened in the past life. Sometimes it will be so accurate, right? And then you can say, no, this life, at least I'll try to mend it. I'll make it all right.
Yeah, you try where you can better yourselves, and in places which is fixed, you don't fit in with it. Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. Sai Prahlad.
Yeah, Guruji. So here's a context.
No,
So imagine...
Prahlad, you try. I am Maharishi Parashara. Yeah. You have to say that. And I have put this all the negative statements in the book because of this.
Guruji, okay. I'm Maharishi Parashara. So listen to this story first, right? Imagine that tomorrow you're going to inherit your dad's business. You're going to get millions of dollars, millions of rupees, crores, and you're going to get all the lands, all the wealth that everybody will desire after. Then the day goes, and instead of getting the wealth, you are exiled. You're thrown out of your place. You got framed, and you don't get anything. Just imagine the mindset the person goes through. They will, they'll think that they'll get everything. They're so happy, they're excited, but then everything changes. Now, this is I'm talking about Sri Krishna, Sri Rama here. But in Rama's case, Rama did not, the first day he was smiling, and even when he was exiled, he was still smiling. It did not affect him in any way. So all the negatives for the yogis, for those who are, for them, it's just an experience. They know that the world is Maya, and they are experiencing the good and the bad, and they know that it's all for the Atma to get out of this cycle of samsara. So, just imagine us going through this. We have studied in school, whatever. We have, some of us gone through loss of grandparents, parents, debts, enemies, facing humiliation, disappointments. Do we need to go through this every single time? And so everybody has to make a choice. Now these negatives are there, or even given, are actually the play of Maya. It's not like uh, since I'm acting as Parashara, it's not like I have written them. It's just I've pointed out the Maya that is there, and that Maya's role is to help you to realize that the world is not what it not what it is. So that is the path. You are supposed to experience it and then get what we call as Viveka. So in Vedanta, the first one is you need Viveka. Only then you will get Vairagya, and then the other things will follow. So Viveka means discernment. It's some, you can also translate it as discrimination, but we know discrimination is a negative word. So discernment means the ability to judge well what is happening, whether it's truly affecting you or it's just a passing event, right? So once you get that, to get that Viveka and to get that next Vairagya, which is a kind of dispassion, you have to understand that we are in the cycle of samsara. The more you understand that, the more you will get that Vairagya. If not, you will just do it and you're going to come back to the circle again and again and again, and it's really miserable, thinking that we have to go through everything that we have gone through again. So anyway, that's why it's there, and it's for you to realize. So if there is no negative, there's no positive. Like you take a chessboard, there is light and dark squares. So I see the chessboard as a universe, and if everything was the same, you will not know the difference. For life to have meaning, there should be death. For success to have success, there has to be failures. So similarly, there has to be negatives so that there can be positives. And I think that's why Maharashtra has written it. For him, it's nothing. For all the yogis, they just enjoy whatever happens to them. For us, we take it as if our entire world is ending. Just realize that everything that bad that has happened, it's not over. I mean, it's just a passing thing. So it's all about that kind of understanding.
Good. So when we said that if you are Maharshi Parashara, then when you try to look at it from his point of view, what the so-called negative things are no more negatives, right? They're only meant for teaching you, right? But when an astrologer tells you, you can think about it as negative. Is that right?
I mean, it's a lesson that karma wants you to rectify or maybe go through to change yourself. Okay. Get the best of yourself. And, there are different heavens, so all that as well.
Good. Are we going back to Krishna?
So if I'm Maharishi Parashara, then I'm doing this for, in Tamil there's a word called Karunai. It is for helping the people. So if you think about all of the Vedas, it is all for, realizing oneself, as Sai said, it is for discrimination, discerning, and all that. But I think the Vedanga, which is the Jyotisha, is specifically geared towards helping people. So it is from an abundance of trying to have a manual for people so that they are able to, if you think about it, there's really nothing that helps people to know what's coming up. And sometimes I think the whole purpose of astrology is with everything, like you can't, it's fate, you can't, but it gives you some kind of safeguards in terms of, if you know there is some bumps coming along, you will be careful. So it is an abundance of karunai from the sages.
Karuna means mercy.
For the people that helps them navigate through life.
The Dashadhyaya in Maharshi's text, first paragraph, all good things. Second paragraph, bad things. Next paragraph, good things. Then again, bad things. Right? So many statements are there. So when these statements are there, it is actually forewarning that these are possibilities, and therefore you should protect yourself against it finally happening. And then subsequently, he'll also give you some suggestions on what to do about it. And if you know karma theory well, because you can never do astrology without first accepting the karma theory, because we are only trying to read karma through astrology. And therefore, you will eventually find out ways to rectify the basic faults that actually led you to this situation. And when you work on that, the future will start responding and changing, and it will become a lot better place because you are now creating new karmas. And therefore, the book is filled with donations and prayer and all of that. So it will take you to the next level. Okay. So this is one of the main purpose of astrology. And if you have to tell people that you got to do all these things, first you have to make them believe what is happening. And if when they are going through a bad time, and if you tell them that you're going through a good time, just to encourage them, they will start disbelieving astrology. Now you prove astrology. When you prove astrology, you actually prove karma. And when you prove karma, the person will be inclined to going towards God. He will like to go towards the more permanent knowledge of this world rather than go after the Maya of this world. And like the Buddha said, I will go after the permanent while you people go after the impermanent. So actually, it is supposed to take you to the next level. And if anybody is practicing astrology without belief in God and karma, it will be actually completely useless. It's not going to change anything for them. So compassion, kindness, donations, prayer, all of this together, if you have to bring it together, first you have to be told about the bad things, and only then the person will take those medicines. If you tell that patient that your health is so good, then what medicine is he going to take? You have to tell that you are having this problem. At this rate, this is going to happen. You want that to happen, or do you want to change it? And you say, I want to change. I want to become healthier. Then you say, okay, take these medicines. But sometimes you always have the complaint that in spite of taking diabetes medicine or blood pressure medicine or taking this medicine or that medicine, the disease is actually not going away. The disease is not going away because of karma. But at least the disease got better. The whatever, how it manifests in you, the level of the affliction on the body reduces. You can see the difference for people who take medicine and don't take medicine for the same thing. Okay, so if you start observing, you will see a very big difference between those who believe in these things like karma and God and astrology. Sometimes there are people who don't get into astrology, but still will be so much aligned with all the other rest of it, the compassion part, the kindness part, and so on. And then the prayer part, in which case you can even go to the extent of saying perhaps they may not need even astrology. So until you get salvation, this is one of, like how we do it, until you reach destination, you're supposed to keep the map. You're not supposed to throw it off. As soon as you reach the destination, you can throw away the map because it serves no purpose. That is why rishis, etc., of that stage, yogis, etc., they rarely talk about astrology. From their point of view, it makes no sense because they already reached. But for others who haven't reached it, they need this map. And sometimes people can still, move ahead without maps. There are several ways. Before GPS, how were we traveling? We'll ask, and keep on going. Maybe somebody will misguide us. We go in some route and then come back. Eventually, we'll find. It'll take just longer time to find the place at the destination. Exactly like what Sai Prahlad just now mentioned. Maharshis are helping us to understand God, the universe, and more importantly, the concept of karma. So we got to spread this message that yesterday you ate this food, tomorrow you have a stomach infection. So simple. Okay. So you sent this arrow towards that place. The arrow went and hit that point, and there must have been maybe a deer or something, and the deer got killed. So we have cause and effect. Everybody knows about this cause and effect. So when something happens, there is a reason for it. But we have to discuss the karmic reason. And you can discuss karmic reason without using astrology also. But with astrology, it becomes so for the mind that is inquiring. In the beginning, somebody mentioned that the yogis are fewer in number. Definitely, they are fewer in number. And that's the reason why in BPHS, only 3 pages are there for sannyas yoga. The rest is only for the grihastha. It's only for us. 99.99% of this world are the grihasthas. The remaining small portion is for them, for what they call the spiritual people, the truly spiritual people. And that when you for them, it is actually, they're called seekers. And all this knowledge about Vedas, everything, Upanishads, everything applies only to them. It only applies to the seeker. If you don't seek, then you will go through the other part of life, our grihastha life. At one point, somewhere it says that after taking many births, you got sick of it. You don't want one more birth, and then you go for seeking. I want peace. I found that there's nothing big about all this. Even if I become the king of this land, it's not making me happy. Then what next? What next? Finally, you realize and then say, okay, now I can throw away astrology, I can get spiritual and move ahead. But grihasthas can get a lot more religious, at least to a good extent, believer of karma and fate through astrology, because to them astrology gets proven, and once it is proven, they realize that it is something that was done in the past life. Okay. Karthik. Oh no, 1 minute. Before that, Nagaraj Iyer.
Namaste, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Me, Parashara has put the negative things in the which you have already explained, Guruji, in the things, because in order to help people consult astrology for overcoming negative things, and that is the reason negative things is being put over there.
Okay. And it is the nature of life. There will be, the earth itself, if you look at it, one side it will be bright, the light from the sun. The other side is dark. Like Prahlad mentioned, the chessboard, the light and dark squares. So like in a battery, positive charge and negative charge, it will always be opposites. That is the nature of our life. So how can it be only one-sided? The Maharshi cannot, it's not because Maharshi did this for people. It is actually, that is how life itself is. So you have to attend to that, because even if the Maharshi did not write astrology, give us astrology, even then the unhappiness and happiness would have been there. So this science of astrology is only for finding the happiness and unhappiness about human life. That is the main purpose. Jyotish Kasi.
Namaste, Dhilip ji.
Namaste.
I would say, very, very interesting session. If I have to give an answer in a one-liner, I would say that Maharishi Parashara has stated not only the negatives but also everything in astrology to help human accomplish, their one goal of unending happiness. So this also, I mean, if you give me maybe about another 30 seconds or a minute, I can.
No, please take more time.
Okay. So this is generally, I try to unfold my conversation in my consultations, maybe because much of the background before even I came into astrology was more in the ashram with Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and some of the concepts that I learned from him is what I apply here. So the very first part of generally my conversation in a consultation is the unfoldment of Purushartha. What is the objective in life? What is it that we are really trying to achieve in life? So without going into the details, I generally give an overview of what those Chaturvida Purushartha is and how it actually collapses or dominoes into a Ekavida Purushartha, which is the unending happiness. So that grounding is set, and then I come to the theory of karma that we all in general know, but I go into some specifics of what is Sanchita karma and specifically what are the components of Prarabdha karma, Akruti, Ayuhu and Bhoga, etc. Right? So that gives them, again, the approach here is that I am not talking to a person from a particular demography, right, or a religion for that matter, right, or a faith, right. So the conversation should be more of a human than any particular faith. Of course, the super science, how we have gotten, if you're talking to, that if you're talking to a Hindu or a Vaidika, then you can be a little bit more technical, but as generic as possible. But the theory of karma is very generic. Actually, you can talk to anybody about it. In fact, I would say that the theory of karma probably is becoming more popular outside of India than in India itself.
Correct.
So that again sets the ground. Then again, the third section I generally like to engage the other person is the theory of destiny versus free will without really explicitly telling about, because people do come with, okay, if everything is driven by destiny, then why should I be doing everything, right? Anything at all, right? So that is where I bring in some of the teachings like the ahara bhaya nidra maituna manusya prane samanam, etc., and give them the grounding that free will is as important as the trends of destiny that we do. I look at it like a spectrum, or if you look at life as a spectrum, on one end, you can have a belief that everything is driven by destiny and I don't do anything. On the other end, you can have a belief that I write my destiny, nothing is pre-written. And in our life, we have experienced that, both the extremes, we have met with more disappointments, than accomplishments. So the message is to lead an intelligent life. You need to come as much as possible to the middle of the spectrum, which essentially means know the trends of the destiny and apply your free will to make the right decision. But when you're making the right decision, have that supreme goal, which we have already spoken about earlier on the Purushartha, the unending happiness. That should be the ultimate goal. So that sets a bit of a grounding. I like to make them feel like an educated person who is consulting, and I also tell them that now whatever I tell you will begin to make sense to you as we are talking, why I'm telling this and why I'm telling that. So my experience is that when you set this kind of a grounding, then what happens is that the way they are asking the question, they suddenly feel that they are a little bit more educated than what they were before. And then the questions that they are asking are more pertinent and more relevant, rather than, should I buy a blue car or red car or whatever,
Okay.
So that's the way I try to, ground the conversation.
Very good.
Fourthly, before that, obviously we would have obtained the data points earlier on. I also like to get my view of the native. What is it, this person, what is the strength of this horoscope versus what are the weak links, and what is the why do I think this person is trying to consult me today. I think you get a general idea, right? And then my conversation generally begins with positives in the horoscopes. If there will be three segments, begin with the positives, uh, make the person very aware about the weak links in the horoscope, and conclude with the ability of the native to meet those challenges. So this way what happens is that end of the conversation, generally they are very positive about the conversation. They feel like a little bit empowered and try to move in the positive direction. And also, in your conversation you have to be very conscious about the desha kala patra, talking about, where know something about what they are, where they are coming from, etc. And I also like to be less technical and more plain English, Hindi or Tamil or whatever language you speak,
Okay.
right? That. And I would say that lastly, my only thing is that, treat the knowledge of astrology as a jacket of responsibility that you're wearing, and not as an extraordinary asset that you possess. Because my motto in astrology is that to influence a positive change in one individual is more important than attaining popularity with 1,000. I mean, what I mean to say is the aim should be former, the result can be the latter. The
Okay.
aim should not be the latter. So that's my 2 cents about the topic, Dhilip ji.
Hari Om. Well said.
Thank you.
And, okay, I think we come to the end of the session. One more person, Karthik. Okay, and with that we'll finish. Yes, Karthik.
Namaste, Guruji.
Hari
Actually,
Om.
this is more of a doubt. I have a doubt, if I can ask.
Is it astrological or is it pertaining to the topic?
Yeah, astrological.
Astrological, we leave it for some other session.
Okay.
Okay. So as we practice, Karthik, we'll do it some other time. Okay, your doubt on when we do a proper astrology session. This was more typical satsang type. We did it. Okay. So sometimes, as Jyotish Kasi also mentioned, as we practice this, and you see people coming to you and bowing down, and they treat you as a guru, etc. Sometimes it may happen that you may start considering that you are an extraordinary person. And if thoughts like this can actually hamper your progress in astrology itself, because nature doesn't like us to behave that way. So, this famous story of our great poet Kalidasa, and that old lady story. You can put on your hands. And if you know this, you can raise your hand. Those of you who already are aware of this story. Poet Kalidasa, the great scholar, meeting with an old lady. I kept this story for towards the end of the session, because as we go through this, sometimes we'll suddenly get super egoistic and that we know everything. We are there to change people's lives and destinies, and we feel so we shouldn't be like that. So this is something to do with that topic. So I'll just give you a brief. So Kalidasa is reaching a village, or maybe through a forest, something like that, and then he feels thirsty and finally sees an old woman drawing water from the well, and he's asking for water. Kalidasa is a renowned and revered scholar during his time. And anyway, he wasn't giving so much of importance to the old lady, but he was very much in need of water. So he goes and says, I want water, but then the lady says, okay, wait, I'll give you, but you got to introduce yourself. The Hindi Sapna Parichedo, meaning introduce yourself. Who are you? And so Kalidasa says, I am a traveler. But the old lady said, no, you cannot be a traveler. In this world, there are only two travelers, the sun and the moon. Both rise and set every day and keep traveling perpetually, permanent. So she asked the same question, who are you? Now, because the lady had told that if you only answer, I'll give you water. So our Kalidasa is getting impatient and he says, all right, if you don't want to use the word traveler, you say, I'm your guest. Okay, I'm your guest. The old lady said, no, you cannot be a guest, my dear son. In this world, there are only two guests, youth and wealth. Both are temporary and do not stay, even if you plead with them for 1,000,000 times. And therefore, only these two are guests. So you are not a guest. Okay, who are you? So then he says, Kalidasa uses different words. I'm a tolerant person, Sahanshil Vyakti. Now, the old lady said, you don't look quite tolerant, young man. In this world, only two things are tolerant, the bhumi, the earth, and the tree. So, how much ever you stamp the earth or throw stones at the tree, for fruits, both continue to nurture us. Okay, then, therefore, now continue. Who are you? Kalidas was increasingly, getting upset because he needed the water. Fine then, considered me as a stubborn person. The lady said, no, you can't be stubborn also, because only nails and our hair are the truly stubborn things in our lives. We keep cutting them non-stop, but they continue to grow. They're so stubborn. So again, the same question, who are you? Then he says, I'm a fool. He didn't know what else to say because he wants the water. So I'm a fool. Now the lady gave a wide smile and said, there are only two kinds of fools in this world. A king who rules without having any capacity or knowledge, capability, and a minister to such a king who lavishes praises on this useless king. Only these two people are fools. And therefore, you please let me know who are you. So then Kalidasa realizes is being outsmarted by a illiterate village woman, an old lady. In complete awe and humility, he fell at the feet of the lady, saying, "Oh, mother, how ignorant I was to think that I know myself. I am ashamed of myself. Pardon my ignorance. Show mercy and grant me what I beg of you." When poet Kalidasa touched her feet and got up, he sees Mata Saraswati, the goddess of learning and wisdom. So the goddess now said, Kalidasa, you're wise, but only if you know yourself do you become a true human being. Your ego has overshadowed your achievements. You're educated, but you're also given to arrogance. Hence, I came here to guide you. Okay, this is how the story ends. And with that, we will end the session. Hope you had some takeaways during this session. I will allow you to unmute. Anybody can unmute and say whatever you want as maybe as a feedback or as a comment or something. Okay. So today's session is over. It will be uploaded on patreon.com and on YouTube membership. Are you able to unmute?
Yeah, Guruji, I will come.
Okay. Sorry about that. I forgot to click that option.
Thank you very much, Dhilip ji. This was an excellent session.
Okay. Prahlad, the countdown?
3 minus 5.
Thank you,
4,
Guruji.
3,
Thank
Hari
you,
Om.
Guruji.
1.
Hari Om to everyone.
Thanks,
Off.
Guruji.
0.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Excellent session.
Hari Om.